Hey everybody, this is Steve Cook. Welcome to Pro Mix Academy. Welcome to my home studio. Today we are going to listen to a song called Leave a Light On For Me. This project has been like 100 years in the making. I wanted to do like an R&B soul kind of thing. And so I would come down here late at night and tinker and come up with a bass line, come up with this, come up with that. I had this idea to do a solo project. And no solo project is truly one person by themselves. There has to be at least one other person doing something. A guy came out on the road with us just to kind of hang out, and they were running over a song, we were running over a song to play that night, and I heard him sing like 2 bars. And when we got to the venue, I took him aside and I said, Aubrey, what are you doing? Like, what, where are you playing? What's going on? Talk to me about your career. He's like, well, I'm just doing acoustic stuff in Nashville, and I'm just trying to figure out the next step. I said, well, in the meantime, please, let's get together and let's figure some things out. So we got together and we worked on a couple songs. Actually, we worked on a bunch of songs, but we've tracked 2 of them. This is one of them. It's called Leave a Light On For Me, and it's just, we're pretty proud of it. It's come together great. Aubrey is a force to be reckoned with. We're actually going to put out a full record. So I have set up the bass configuration for this particular song, which is I use the Hofner club bass, the triple pickup, through the Noble DI. I've also got the 1965 B18N in the sort of ISO booth back here. And the beautiful thing about this closet is that it actually has power, which a lot of closets don't. So I was gassed to see that, which is another reason that the studio's down here, just a little bit more flexibility. Here is Leave a Light On For Me, Presonus Studio One. And if you're not familiar with it, the layout is really simple. It's a lot of drag and drop, especially for the effects, or if you're working your loops or your libraries. But from the very top, we're going to go ahead and I'm just going to solo what we started off with, which is scratch piano and scratch vocals. We'll play that just for a minute, and then we'll kind of build the track slowly but surely, starting with the drums. So let's just hear what we got. And this is Aubrey playing the piano. And he's admittedly not a great piano player in his time, but he really is a great piano player. And he plays guitar as well, but this is where we started.
Baby, leave a light on for me. Baby, leave a light on for me.
So again, a very simple bass track, very simple arrangement. I think the star is Aubrey, the singer, not the bass player. And that's really how it goes. Just kind of pepper it a little bit and do your thing. And hopefully you'll have some great results. So I'm going to take you through the process of an internet session, and it's really not as daunting and as crazy as it sounds. Somebody sends you a file, what's called a 2-track, which is a mix, and it could be anything as simple as a scratch vocal and an acoustic guitar to a fully produced sort of session, just minus the bass. And your guitar could be, or in your instance could be guitar or whatever. But this track was sent to me by my touring drummer. He's not really my touring drummer. He's the drummer I play with on tour. And he's also a producer. And so basically what I've done is he Dropboxed me the track. I've dropped it into Studio One, set the tempo, and with Studio One you can just do a tap tempo as you listen to the track, and it'll sort of get it close for you. And then I set up my bass track, which is just the Noble DI, into this, and we're going to track bass. So I've listened to it, I've listened through, and sort of picked out some parts that I think might work. And the song is it's a pretty straight ahead song, a couple little quirky kicks. Again, I didn't chart this one out, so I'm going to make mistakes, but but in the interest of time, I'm not going to sit here and chart it out for you. So this is the 83 P bass through the Noble DI into Studio One Pro, and we're going to hit the record button and have a little fun. All right, so obviously there were some mistakes in there, and that is my first pass through. So I, getting into the groove of the song, it felt good. I know, kind of the form. Like I said, if I charted this thing out, obviously the kicks would be there, and it would go a little bit faster. But I didn't chart this one out, so I did make mistakes. And as you notice, as I made the mistakes, I look up because you sort of take mental notes as to where they are. So we're gonna listen through, and you'll hear the ticks. But all in all, not a bad first go round on this track. So this is something that I picked up by accident as far as technique. About a year and a half ago, I was getting ready to do a show, and there's 10,000 people out there, and we're throwing a football before the show. And the worst thing you can do before a show is throw a football, because what happens when you're a musician and not an athlete, you're probably going to break something. I broke my finger about a half an hour before we had to play. And you can see right here is a nice little bump on this finger. But when I looked down, my finger was at an angle like this. And when you're a bass player using your right hand and your fingers look like this is not good. So I tried to kind of pull it back, and it didn't go back. So I played with my finger at like a 45-degree angle, and that's pretty much my main digit, because I start everything with my middle finger just about, and I just developed that for speed and sort of dexterity. So I had to keep playing. I mean, I played that night, but I had to stay on the road, and I had to, keep my gig basically. So I learned very quickly to use other methods. So I turned my hand over immediately. And instead of playing like this, I was playing with my thumb. And what that did is, over the next 4, 5, 6 months, is it got that dexterity up. And now I find myself live playing both ways. And so if you notice, I'm only using these two fingers because that's all I had for a number of months. And so I learned to play. I learned to play like that. I mean, now I can play. But what it did is it expanded my arsenal, because now I have sort of this fun palm mute thing that I can do for different songs, and it'll lend itself in some really nice places, some ballads and some different things where I can just. And be able to do some different things that I can't necessarily get out of the finger, because you have more meat back there and more fatty stuff on the thumb. So anyhow, so you don't have to break your finger to learn how to do this. You can turn your hand over and you can kind of train yourself, or you can do what I did for a while and had these two taped up and start using these fingers in a different way. And you'll find yourself playing things differently with your left hand as well, just because you don't have that string skipping dexterity if you're doing it this way, or you can work up to your string skipping dexterity. But I've heard of, stranger things where people take off strings of basses, or they retune them, or they just do things just slightly different to grow and learn as a player. And that was one thing that happened to me by accident, that I don't wish on anybody, because I had to go to like you have to keep this completely immobilized for like 3 months, which means no popcorn with this hand. But it's just one of those things that happened to me, and it happened in a great way. And so I made some lemons out of the lemonade.